Hello, lovelies, and thank you so very much for checking out this true crime video. I hope that you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, and I hope that if you enjoy this content, you would be so kind as to give me a subscribe just down below. My channel is very small and I'm doing my best to grow it, so any support you can give is greatly appreciated, whether that's through a like, a subscribe, or just a view, or all three. I appreciate you being here, so thank you. So, as mentioned, today I'm going to be doing a true crime case. This is my second true crime video, and this is one that's requested by one of my subscribers. Her name is I'm Kate, and that's IMKKATE. So thank you so much, Kate, for the suggestion. Anyone who has cases that they would like me to cover, I would love if you would give me those suggestions in the comments. I would like to do, some high-profile cases along with some not so well-known cases so that there's a good balance of both. So, as I mentioned, please do give me your suggestions on cases you would like me to review. I do have to give a trigger warning. This is obviously a true crime video, so anyone who's younger than 13, 14, please click on another one of my videos, as there's discussions of murder in this video, and your innocent little eyes and ears don't need to hear that. So, okay, let's get right to it. Today's case is the unsolved murder of Elizabeth Marie Noel Barraza. As in my last video, my notes are just to the left over here, so if I'm looking in that direction, I apologize. So, I'm going to start out talking about our victim, as I like to start out true crime videos that way, as they are really the most important people. So, this case happened in a town called Tomball, Texas, and Elizabeth died on January 25th, 2019. So, to give you some background, Elizabeth Barazza was born June 26th, 1989, and she was 29 at the time of her death. She was an organ donor, and with her donation, she was able to give her heart, liver, both her kidneys, as well as her corneas. So she was able to save the lives of 4 people and provided the gift of sight to 1, which is super amazing. When she passed, her remains were cremated, and there's a memorial plaque that was made or paid for by Crime Stoppers of Houston, and this is at the Crime Stoppers Houston headquarters, so there's a memorial plaque there for her. Okay, so she was born in Elk Grove Village, Illinois, to parents Robert Sr. and Rosemary Noel. She has an older brother, Robert Jr. Her friends and family called her Liz. She was known to absolutely love Harry Potter, and people knew her wasn't able to find anything, so the reason for that is unknown. She planned to stay for one academic year apparently, but ended up remaining there until she graduated in 2012 with a degree in psychology. Now, while she was at college, she met a man named Sergio Barazza, and they began dating. Early in their relationship, they adopted a Dachshund puppy and they named him Diesel. And in February of 2014, they got married. Together, they enjoyed going to the Texas Renaissance Festival and were active in the cosplay community, both online and in their community at home. They were known to be involved in charity work, where they would dress up in stormtrooper costumes and Star Wars costumes, and they would go to the hospitals locally and visit sick children. So they were contributing members of society in their community. They had similar interests and, by all accounts, seemed like a happy couple. After college, Liz worked as a data reporter at a company called the Rosen Group, or the Rosen Group, and Sergio worked with his father as a crew chief installing flooring. In 2016, they purchased their first home together in Princeton Place, Texas. In their marriage, messaged her saying that he wasn't able to help and that he needed to spend that time seeking employment. So I guess for whatever reason, he changed his mind the evening before. So at 6:48, Sergio leaves the house in his work van. Now, 350 yards away in a school parking lot is a Nissan truck. It's parked there, and at exactly 6:48, so the exact moment that Sergio left for work, this work van also pulls out of the school parking lot and heads in the direction of Liz and Sergio's house. Now keep in mind that this was Sergio and Liz's house and this school were 350 yards away from each other, and you couldn't see the driveway from the school parking lot or vice versa. So there's no way that this truck saw Sergio leaving and then left. But keep in mind that they left at the exact same time, down to the minute. At 6:51, we see this Nissan truck drive by Liz and Sergio's house. It pulls a U-turn and drives back to their house and parks in front of the driveway, in front of the house. There are two occupants in the vehicle. They leave the car running, and the driver gets out of the vehicle and walks up to Liz. They walk up quite quickly, they were on a mission, so they walked fast, directly towards her. It looked like they were wearing some kind of costume, so it looked like a wig. The person had long hair, but again, it looked like a wig, and looked like they were wearing some sort of cape, like a lighter colored cape, as well as boots. Now, people have speculated online that it looks like a stormtrooper costume, which, if you remember, Liz and Sergio owned stormtrooper costumes and would use them for cosplay, and when they would do their going to the hospital and dressing up to give back. So this person walks straight up to Liz. We hear Liz on the doorbell camera footage saying good morning, and the two of them speak for about 6 seconds. While they're speaking, you can see that the shooter has a gun in their hand, and they seem to be pointing it in Liz's direction and making it clear, and they're showing Liz that they have a gun. So after speaking for about 6 seconds, we hear and see 3 quick shots go off. We see Liz fall to the ground, and the shooter walks up to her and shoots her point blank a 4th time. Now, initial reports claim that Liz was hit by all 4 of these bullets, that the first one went through the side of her neck and hit their house, and that the other 3 hit her in the chest and in the head. But upon further review, when you look at the police reports and the hospital report, you see that the first shot actually never hit Liz. It hit the house above the entryway. And then the remaining 3 shots hit her in the chest and in the head. But it's strange how the media and so many people are still reporting that she was hit by all 4 bullets. So I found that kind of strange because, as I said, when you look at the actual reports from the hospital and reports from the police, it's clear eventually is lost. Between 6:53 and 6:58, 3 neighbors call 911 indicating they all heard the shooting, but that none of them actually saw it. At 6:58, 4 county constables arrive. Shortly after that, EMS arrives and they call for life flight, so air transport for Liz. At 7:19, they enter Liz and Sergio's home, and upon entering, they triggered the alarm system, which notified Sergio as well as Liz's parents that the alarm was going off. Sergio communicated to the officers through the webcam, and they told him that he needed to return home immediately because something had happened with Liz. Her parents, because of the notification they received, they called Liz, and when she doesn't answer, they drive straight to the house. At 7:21, Life Flight arrives and takes Liz to Memorial Hermann Hospital in Houston, Texas. At 7:36, her parents arrived at the house. And shortly after that, 2 minutes later, at 7:38, Sergio arrives. He is immediately detained for questioning, or not detained, but he's pulled aside for questioning right away. Liz's parents head to the hospital, and shortly after that, her brother Robert and his wife Amanda arrive at the hospital. Liz is put on life support while a trauma team of doctors work on her. They do tests to try and do everything to save her life, but the outcome is grim. She's alive, but it's not looking good at this point. So the doctors, the same day, that afternoon, speak to her parents about organ donation, as they know that she's not going to make it. Saturday, January 26th, so the following day, Liz is taken off life support at 1:40 p.m. and pronounced dead at that time. On February 1st, Liz's family and friends hold a public vigil at the house, and they call for justice and publicize the case. So they invited media and tried to make it as publicized as possible. Over 100 family and friends attended this event, and it was live streamed online. The vigil ended with a lightsaber and Harry Potter wand raising. On February 2nd, 2019, they held a private celebration of life for close friends and family, so this one obviously wasn't publicized. On February 6th, 2019, Crime Stoppers of Houston holds a press conference to provide the public with information on the case. And at that point in time, they offer a $20,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest. So during their investigation, they come to find through ring cameras and security footage that the Nissan truck, it's a black Nissan Frontier, that it actually drove by Liz and Sergio's house around 12:30 a.m. the morning of the murder. Now, this is another fact that was incorrectly reported pretty much everywhere online. Most websites and most information that you see indicates that the Nissan was tracked driving by the house and in the neighborhood at 2 a.m. But this is wrong. This actually happened at 12:30 a.m. And this is verified by footage that I've actually seen of the truck driving by. Again, it's not 2 a.m., it's 12:30. definition there, but in any case, the truck was visible on footage, seen driving and canvassing the area and driving by their house. So they determined that the Nissan is made between the year of 2013 and 2019, but despite all the video footage, they're unable to get a license plate, which is pretty mind-boggling because there's the webcam footage from the door cam, there's other security footage from other homes on the street as well as in the neighborhood, and then there's also security footage of the truck in the area at stores from like gas station footage and those kind of things. But none of these cameras, for whatever reason, are able to capture the license plate, which is just ironic and weird, quite frankly. So they find at the scene that there were no spent cartridges, so this is indicating that the shooter used a revolver. They collect Liz and Sergio's phone as part of the investigation, and they find no evidence of an affair or affairs happening or any indication that Sergio was involved or anything like that. They find nothing that's helpful to the investigation on either of their phones. So they learn that Liz usually leaves for work, as I mentioned before, around 7 a.m., so between 6:50 and 7 a.m., and that Sergio typically leaves between 6:30 and 6:45. So the morning of the shooting, he left a little bit later so that he could help her with the garage sale. The police questioned her colleagues as they would have known that she had the day off, but in the end they all had alibis and nothing came out of questioning her colleagues. Okay, so that's all the concrete information really that we have on this case. So the majority of what I'm going to talk about now is theories. I would also like to just add that at this point the reward for information is bumped up to $50,000. Okay, so theories. First of all, I think it's pretty clear, and most people, based on the evidence, think that this is premeditated, that this was pre-planned. It wasn't just a random attack based on the drive-bys before the shooting. This wasn't a robbery. Nothing was stolen. Nothing like that. So again, to me, this was premeditated, and this was very much a targeted attack. So the biggest theory is that Sergio was involved. Of course, he had the motive to do it in the form of a $250,000 life insurance policy. There was also a clause in the policy that if she was murdered, or it's something related to the cause of death, but the manner in which she was murdered doubled her life insurance policy. So it's $500,000 is her policy amount. So obviously Sergio had the most to gain. So the speculation is that it could have been a hitman or a mistress. So they note that Sergio sold him and Liz's house in 2021, and he remarried to a woman named Amber, and they got married 2 years after Liz's murder. Now, some people are saying that that's really fast to get married after your wife's murdered. I don't think necessarily that points to his guilt. I guess it is fast to get to the point of marriage within 2
want to jump right into a relationship, but again, that's not indicative of his guilt. People note that at the time of the murder, Amber actually worked at a car dealership and mechanic shop in the neighborhood, and that she had access to a black Nissan or other vehicles. There's also online speculation or online reportings and gossip that also indicate Amber drove a Nissan Frontier, a dark-colored Nissan Frontier, at the time of the murder. But again, this is just online speculation. I haven't seen this information verified. According to Sergio and Amber, they did not know each other at the time of the murder, and there's been no concrete evidence to link them at the time of the murder. They maintain that they met online in 2020. So there's, again, no evidence to support, but there is rumblings online that the affair had already started, and that, again, this was partially motivated or fully motivated by that. Police also describe Sergio's behavior after arriving at the scene as very odd, and if you watch videos of him speaking to police at the scene, he looks very emotionless. Like, he just kind of has this blank look on his face. He's not crying. He doesn't seem upset. He looks very calm and just blank-faced. Now, I know everyone reacts to trauma differently. And again, this piece of information alone is not indicative of his guilt, but it sort of adds for sure to the speculation with this other information. But he also didn't ask about Liz's condition or ask to go to the hospital while he was speaking to police. He's noted as being not enthusiastic, but he was standing there talking to the media and talking to the police, and not once did he ask to go to the hospital, which obviously seems strange. You'd think that would be your utmost concern, is how your wife is doing. Another factor point that sort of points to Sergio is the fact that he left at the exact same time as the Frontier left a school parking lot. To me, that really indicates that either Sergio communicated with this person that he had left the house, or that somebody else was watching the house and let the Nissan know that he was gone. But the fact that they both left at the exact same minute does not seem like a coincidence to me. That's just too strange to chalk off as a coincidence. And to me, that very much points to Sergio being involved, or, as I said, it could have been someone else staking out the house and messaging the person, but they left at the exact same minute, 6:48. Another reason people suspect him is that he changed his story and had contradicting statements about when flyers were put out. So, initially, he stated that they put flyers out on Friday morning, but in later interviews and statements, he claims that they were put out on Thursday night. They say, or people online theorize, that he initially said he put the flyers out Friday morning to add credence to the idea that this was a random attack and to take some of the attention off him. They speculate that once he learned that there was footage of the truck driving by early in the morning hours, that he changed his story to say that the flyers were put out on Thursday evening to, again, support the idea that this was a random attack, that somebody saw the flyers and saw an opportunity to go to the house when this was happening and was horrible, which apparently, based on Google Maps, it can get pretty bad during rush hour. So, I don't necessarily see this as something that points to his guilt, because I think it's rush hour on a Friday. There very well could have been traffic that prevented him from getting home in 10 or 11 minutes, but it's still something to know that he took the absolute maximum amount of time it could take. Also, keep in mind that Liz's parents were further away from the house than Sergio was, and they made it to the house 2 minutes before Sergio did. So again, it does beg the question, what was he doing? Was he stalling for some reason? Like, what was the reason he took that long? You could assume traffic, but then why didn't Liz's parents get stuck in that same traffic or similar traffic? So another circumstantial evidence, but something to keep in mind. The last point is that he wasn't truthful about his last interaction with his wife. So he indicates that he said goodbye that morning as they normally would, that it was a loving goodbye before he left, and that there was nothing out of the ordinary. However, there's his front door footage, and you can hear audio in this footage, and you can hear them speaking before Sergio leaves. You can hear her, you can hear him. He asks her if she needs help, and she says nope. And then you loudly hear him say goodbye, and he slams his truck door, and he pulls out of the driveway, and you can hear by the way he pulls out that he is going fast, like he rips out of the driveway. And there was very clearly tension in that exchange. So when they said bye, it was as if they were irritated with each other or annoyed, but it was not this loving exchange that he claims. So he's trying to imply that the situation was different than it was. Again, it's circumstantial. I mean, not really circumstantial. It's his own words. He's lying, but it's an indicator that he's not being truthful overall. With that being said, Sergio is fully cooperative in the investigation. He allows searches of the house and his personal belongings. He did pass a polygraph test, and no incriminating texts or calls were found on his phone or any mobile devices. So nothing showing that he texted anyone that morning or called anyone when he left. To me, that doesn't necessarily mean he's not guilty. Burner phones are pretty easy to get nowadays, so the shooter and Sergio could have each had a burner phone and gotten rid of them, and nobody would know, right? Although he has publicly said that he did not cash in her life insurance policy, and there's also speculation that he is not able to cash it in because he is not ruled out as a suspect. There's also rumblings online that he did get the life insurance policy already and has just been hush-hush about it, and the media doesn't know. But again, those are just online rumors. Okay, so moving on to our next theory. Some people theorize that Sergio's dad had something to do with the murder. They think this because Sergio mentioned to police in his statements that him, Liz, and his dad had had tension between them recently. He references financial problems as well as check actually bounced, and Liz was upset or expressed frustrations because the affairs were affecting the family dynamic, and with Sergio's recent check bouncing, she was indicating that this money was being spent on mistresses and lavish outings for Sergio's dad and the women he was having an affair with, or multiple affairs were happening, and he was taking these women out to dinners and doing things like that with them. And so there was tension between the three of them. So he is questioned. Sergio's dad is questioned. He admits to having affairs, but says that the financial issues with the company were nothing major, that it was just a customer payment that was late, and that as soon as he got the payment, everything was fine. He did pass a polygraph test, and there was no incriminating evidence found on his phone or bank records or mobile devices. So during the investigation, there is a person of interest identified that is connected to Mr. Barraza Sr., Sergio's dad. It's noted that this person did not know Sergio personally, but it's speculated that Sergio's father was in a worse financial situation than he was letting on, and that there were some bad business dealings that had taken place, and that this person of interest was someone that Sergio's dad had some sort of conflict with. Now, if this was the case, I don't know why somebody would target Liz and not Sergio. Like, if they had bad business dealings with Sergio's father, why would their target victim be his father's son's wife? Like, that just seems pretty far-fetched. Ultimately, no arrests were made of this person of interest. However, Sergio says to this day that he remains skeptical that his dad didn't have something to do with it. Now, on to our next theory. That this could have been someone from the cosplay community or one of the Star Wars groups that they were in. Sergio indicated early on that the only person he thought could possibly hurt his wife was a woman who was in this Star Wars group that they were in. This woman's name is not public, but apparently she lives in Florida. Now, it's claimed that Liz had ruffled some feathers within this group due to excluding some members from receiving upcoming event notifications for whatever reason. Part of the reason this theory is supported is because of the stormtrooper outfit that the shooter seemed to be wearing. As I mentioned before, Liz and Sergio both had stormtrooper outfits, so that point seems a little bit strange. Like, why would the person wear a costume? Or, I mean, I guess it's understandable why they would wear a costume when they're committing a murder, but to wear a stormtrooper outfit, of all things, like, it's indicating that the person knew more about their lives than just some random stranger targeting her. Now, they investigate this Star Wars group, they question this woman, and ultimately everyone was ruled out as a suspect, and nothing comes from this community. The other thing I want to point out is that if it was this woman from the Star Wars group, if she lived in Florida, why wouldn't she wait until Sergio and Liz were in Florida on their vacation rather than coming up to Texas to kill Liz? So I don't really buy that theory. I don't is one of the theories online. There's another theory that Liz had a road rage incident with someone, that they followed her home, saw the garage sale, or saw the garage sale posters rather, if they were put out on Thursday night, as Sergio claimed, and that the person targeted her for that reason. To me, that seems very extreme for a road rage incident, and that also doesn't explain the Star Wars costume either. But it's a theory online, so I thought I'd mention it. Another theory is that Liz had learned some incriminating information through her investigative work at her job. A man named Paul Holes, who investigated Liz's case, indicated that shortly before she was murdered, someone fired a gunshot into Liz's place of employment. When you look into this further, it seems that the gunshot to her place of work was unrelated to the shooting. And the reason that is because apparently the area where the office was known to be not the best area, and there was a lot of gang activity and that sort of thing that happened at night, and evidently this shot happened in the early mornings. The other thing is, if you're trying to shoot someone, unless you know specifically where Liz is in her office, and even if you did know that information, to shoot a gun through a building and think that you have a chance of shooting someone seems really far-fetched, especially because the building is not a tiny building, it's rather large, it's multi-level, so it doesn't seem to be related to her work. There's also people who work at her company that have come out and said there's nothing incriminating that she could have found in her job. Her job wasn't like that, and that's not possible. So the last theory is that this was just a random attack, as I mentioned earlier, that someone saw an opportunity to shoot an innocent person and took it. I don't see anything to support this theory other than the fact that apparently Houston has a significant organized crime presence, and that based on the location, there's a lot of people who have either fled Mexico or would see an opportunity to quickly flee down to Mexico if they've done something wrong. So again, it could have been someone random, but as mentioned before, the stormtrooper costume doesn't really support this theory. Like, why would a random gang member shoot a random innocent person while wearing a stormtrooper disguise? That just seems strange and far-fetched. So those are all the theories. If you ask me what I think happened, or the theory that I most believe, I think that Sergio for sure had some involvement. I don't know if it was money motivated. If that's the case, he hasn't gotten any money as far as all media is reporting, unless he did, and he's keeping that hush. But I think that he knows more than he's letting on, that he probably either hired someone to kill her, or that it was a mistress that had killed her. But I don't believe this was random. There's too many things that line up. Mostly the 6:48 time frame of both of them leaving at that point in time. It just seems too coordinated to be random. But I do have some questions. Like, for one, why were they setting up a garage garage sale so early in the morning? Like, who's gonna go to a garage sale at 7 or 8 in the morning? I don't really understand that. I don't understand how the license plate is not legible in any of the surveillance footage. That just seems not possible to me. There's so many cameras everywhere all the time, and the truck was picked up on so many different surveillance videos that I don't understand that point. The other thing is, I don't understand why Liz set the alarm to her house if she was just in the garage setting up, because you would think she would be in and out that whole time. So it seems kind of strange. Like, why would she set that alarm? I don't know how that point supports or disproves any of the theories. Off the top of my head, I can't think what that would have to do with a targeted murder, but that point seems strange too. Now, Liz's father has come out and said publicly that this was not a random thing. He believes the shooter was paid to murder his daughter. He's quoted as saying, "That makes this case ever so much more difficult to deal with because we have maybe two parties and we don't currently have the names or addresses of either of them. There's no such thing as a perfect murder." I would love to know who those two people are that he's talking about. I mean, you'd think if he was referring to Sergio and his wife Amber, that he would not have made the statement that he doesn't have their names or addresses. That seems strange. Like, who could he possibly think it is that he wouldn't know their names or addresses? In January 2023, Sergio is quoted as saying, "If I had known it was the last night, I would have done so much more. I would have held her longer. I would have said so much." He also adds, "It has really made me live in fear just because they haven't found anyone." So, those are all the theories I have. That's all the information I have on this case. Her parents currently still have a $50,000 reward. That's $20,000 from the, I believe, Houston Crime Stoppers, and then an additional $30,000 that the parents provided. And as I said, that reward is still active for any information relating to Liz's death that leads to an arrest. So that's it for this case. I spent a lot of time looking into this one, and it kind of turned into a rabbit hole where you just gotta close the laptop and say, okay, that's enough. There are so many theories. There's theories about white pickup trucks that are seen on surveillance footage outside Liz's work, but people go so in depth with this that they look at the street view footage, and people have seen some white truck that was outside Liz's place of work in 2019 and was also there a year prior or something, and they claim there's a similar white truck that drove by their house. But this is Texas. Trucks are common there. I don't think, unless you've got a license plate number and more specific information, that just seeing a white truck drive by or in her parking lot of her work is proof enough to say that that truck has anything to do with it. There's theories out there that the target was Liz's dad, and that when he was not there, that they targeted Liz instead. But that theory I didn't even mention because it just doesn't seem plausible to me. If they're after Liz's dad and you clearly see that he's not there, you don't just go up and shoot his daughter. Like, So I very much